How AI-powered artisans are revolutionizing handmade craftsmanship. What if I told you that the most traditional craftspeople in the world are now using artificial intelligence to create masterpieces that would have been impossible just 5 years ago? You're about to discover how blacksmiths, potters, weavers, and woodworkers are quietly leading one of the most fascinating revolutions in human creativity. I know what you're thinking. AI and handmade crafts? That sounds like mixing oil and water. But stay with me, because what's happening right now is going to completely change how you think about both technology and tradition. We're not talking about robots replacing artisans. We're talking about something far more interesting and unexpected. Picture this. A master potter in Japan, who's been throwing clay for 40 years, suddenly discovers she can create patterns and glazes that have never existed before. A blacksmith in rural Montana starts forging metal sculptures that seem to defy the laws of physics. A textile artist in Peru weaves fabrics with designs so intricate they look like they came from another dimension. What do they all have in common? They're using AI as their creative partner. Now, before you start imagining some dystopian future where machines take over art, let me paint you a different picture. These artisans aren't becoming less human. They're becoming more human. They're pushing the boundaries of what human creativity can achieve when it's amplified by intelligent technology. Let's start with something that might blow your mind. Traditional pattern generation has always been limited by what the human brain can visualize and remember. Even the most skilled craftspeople were confined to patterns they could mentally map out. But AI pattern generators are now helping artisans explore design spaces that were literally impossible to access before. Take weaving, for example. Master weavers have spent centuries perfecting their craft, but they've always been limited by the complexity they could hold in their minds while working the loom. Now AI systems can generate intricate pattern sequences that would take a human weeks to plan, but the weaver still makes every single thread placement decision. The AI doesn't weave. It suggests. It inspires. It opens doors to new possibilities. I recently spoke with a tapestry artist who told me something fascinating. She said using AI pattern generation felt like having a conversation with a brilliant mathematician who spoke in colors and textures instead of numbers. The AI would suggest a pattern progression, and she would modify it, reject parts of it, or use it as a launching point for something completely different. But here's where it gets really interesting. These craftspeople aren't just using AI for patterns. They're using it for materials science, process optimization, and even customer connection in ways that are revolutionizing their entire approach to their craft. Let me tell you about a ceramic artist in Vermont who's using machine learning to predict how different clay compositions will behave in her kiln. For decades, firing ceramics was part science, part art, and part prayer. You'd load your pieces into the kiln, set the temperature and timing based on experience and intuition, and hope for the best. Sometimes you'd lose entire batches to cracking, warping, or unexpected chemical reactions. Now she feeds data about clay composition, humidity, firing temperature, and even the shape and thickness of her pieces into an AI system that predicts outcomes with remarkable accuracy. But here's the crucial part. She's not following the AI blindly. She's using it to understand her materials better than any craftsperson in history ever could. This same ceramic artist told me that working with AI has made her more connected to her clay, not less. Because when you understand exactly how your materials behave under different conditions, you can push them further, experiment more boldly, and achieve results that seemed impossible before. The metalworking community is experiencing something similar. Blacksmiths are using AI-powered analysis to understand metal grain structures, predict how different alloys will respond to heating and cooling cycles, and even optimize the ergonomics of their hammer techniques to reduce strain and improve consistency. One blacksmith in Colorado shared that he's been forging for 25 years, but AI analysis of his hammer strikes helped him realize he was creating micro-stress patterns in his work that were affecting the final strength of his pieces. By adjusting his technique based on AI feedback, he's now creating stronger, more beautiful work than ever before. But perhaps the most surprising development is how AI is helping artisans connect with customers and markets in unprecedented ways. Traditional craftspeople have always struggled with the business side of their work. They're artists, not marketers. They're focused on creation, not commerce. AI is changing that dynamic completely. Craftspeople are now using intelligent systems to analyze market trends, predict demand for different types of pieces, and even customize their work for specific customer preferences without losing the handmade quality that makes their work special. A furniture maker in North Carolina told me he uses AI to analyze photos of customers' homes and suggest custom pieces that would complement their existing decor while still maintaining his signature style. The AI doesn't design the furniture. It helps him understand what the customer needs and wants in ways that traditional consultation methods never could. This is creating a new model of craftsmanship that's both more efficient and more personal than anything we've seen before. Customers get pieces that are perfectly suited to their needs and preferences, while craftspeople can focus more time on the actual making and less time on the guesswork of what to make. The woodworking community is experiencing perhaps the most dramatic transformation. AI-powered tools are helping woodworkers optimize grain patterns, predict how different wood species will age and change over time, and even design joints and connections that maximize both strength and beauty. But here's what's really fascinating. These AI tools aren't making woodworking easier in the sense of requiring less skill. They're making it more sophisticated. A furniture maker can now create pieces that incorporate complex stress analysis, grain optimization, and joinery techniques that would have taken master craftsmen generations to develop through trial and error. One master carpenter in Oregon explained it to me this way. He said AI has given him superhuman pattern recognition. He can now see possibilities in a piece of wood that would have taken him decades of experience to recognize. But recognizing the possibility and executing it are completely different things. The craft, the skill, the human touch, that's all still there. It's just operating at a higher level. The textile arts are seeing similar revolutionary changes. AI systems can now analyze traditional patterns from cultures around the world and help contemporary weavers understand the mathematical principles behind designs that seemed purely intuitive. This isn't cultural appropriation, it's cultural appreciation and preservation at a level that wasn't possible before. A textile artist in New Mexico told me she's using AI to preserve and revitalize traditional Native American weaving patterns that were at risk of being lost. By feeding historical examples into machine learning systems, she can understand the underlying structure of these patterns in ways that help her teach them to new generations of weavers while still maintaining their cultural authenticity and significance. But perhaps the most profound change is happening in how craftspeople think about their own creativity. Many artisans report that working with AI has made them more aware of their own creative processes, more intentional about their choices, and more confident in taking creative risks. When you have an AI system that can generate thousands of pattern variations in seconds, you start to understand what makes your human aesthetic choices special. You begin to recognize your own creative voice more clearly by contrast with machine-generated alternatives. A jewelry maker in California described this phenomenon perfectly. She said that before working with AI, she often felt stuck in her own creative patterns. She would unconsciously default to familiar designs and techniques. But when an AI system started suggesting variations and alternatives, she began to see her own preferences and biases more clearly. This awareness freed her to make more conscious creative choices and explore directions she never would have considered on her own. The economic implications of this fusion are equally revolutionary. Traditional craftspeople have always faced a difficult balance between time investment and income potential. Handmade items command premium prices, but they also require enormous time investments that limit overall earning potential. AI is helping solve this equation by making craftspeople more efficient without compromising quality. When an AI system can help a potter predict exactly how a glaze will look before firing, that potter saves time on test pieces and failed experiments. When a weaver can use AI to optimize thread tension and pattern sequences, they can complete complex pieces faster without sacrificing intricacy or beauty. This efficiency gain isn't replacing human labor with machine labor. It's amplifying human capability and allowing craftspeople to focus their time and energy on the aspects of their work that truly require human creativity and skill. The future implications of this trend are staggering. We're looking at a world where traditional crafts don't disappear in the face of mass production and automation. Instead, they evolve into something more sophisticated, more personalized, and more economically viable than ever before. Young people who might have been discouraged from pursuing traditional crafts because of economic uncertainty are now seeing viable career paths that combine their interest in technology with their love of working with their hands. Art schools are developing new programs that teach traditional techniques alongside AI collaboration skills. But here's what might be the most important point of all. This revolution isn't happening in Silicon Valley boardrooms or high-tech laboratories. It's happening in workshops and studios around the world, driven by individual craftspeople who are curious enough to experiment and open-minded enough to embrace tools that enhance rather than replace their human capabilities. These artisans are proving that the future doesn't have to be a choice between human tradition and technological innovation. They're showing us that the most interesting and valuable creations come from the intersection of human creativity and machine intelligence, where each amplifies the best qualities of the other. The next time you see a beautiful handmade object, remember that it might represent the cutting edge of both ancient tradition and modern innovation. The revolution in craftsmanship isn't coming. It's already here, and it's being led by the people who understand that true artisanship has always been about pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the tools available.